Eggs. A simple, universally beloved food that millions rely on for easy and affordable nutrition. But what if these innocent-looking staples hide unexpected risks when prepared or stored the wrong way? Think about that for a moment. A single mishandled egg has the potential to cause health problems that range from minor discomfort to serious illness. For many people, especially older adults or anyone with a sensitive system, these hidden hazards can turn a delicious breakfast into a nightmare. Yet there's no reason to avoid eggs entirely once you understand the correct techniques. Today, you'll uncover the crucial do's and don'ts that can transform eggs from a potential hazard into a health-promoting powerhouse. By learning about the small but significant missteps people make, you'll be able to enjoy your eggs without fear. Whether you're frying, scrambling, poaching, or baking with eggs, these pointers will shed light on how to keep the nutrient-packed goodness intact while steering clear of unnecessary risks. Let's dive into the first major point, which might surprise you. Despite eggs being one of the most nutritionally complete foods out there, many people overlook just how quickly that goodness can turn bad with the wrong approach. Eggs hold a reputation for being near perfect because they offer high-quality protein, essential vitamins, and crucial minerals. The yolk alone provides vitamins A, D, E, and K, while the egg white is loaded with protein that supports muscle maintenance, immune function, and tissue repair. It's the reason so many diets, whether low carb, high protein, or simply balanced, include eggs as a staple. But here's the kicker. Many of us take for granted that a food so dense with nutrients must be safe no matter how we cook it. After all, isn't it better just to eat eggs in whatever way we find convenient? Not exactly. Over time, scientists, nutritionists, and even savvy home cooks have discovered that the way you handle, store, and heat these delicate ovals can have a huge impact on their nutritional quality. Think about it like this. A brand new car can be the most efficient machine on the road, but if you misuse it, neglecting oil changes, ignoring warning lights, it can become a liability. Eggs are similar. Treat them with care, and they nourish your body with the highest possible quality of vitamins, minerals, and protein. Use them recklessly, and they can degrade into a poor version of themselves, potentially carrying harmful bacteria or inflammatory compounds. This brings us to the heart of the matter. The first true pitfall arises when we cook eggs under conditions that strip away their good qualities and even introduce unwelcome elements. Let's look at that next. Overcooking is perhaps the single most common mistake people make with eggs, and often the easiest one to fix. When eggs are exposed to excessively high heat for prolonged periods, a series of chemical reactions unfold, damaging both their flavor and their nutritional content. At the most fundamental level, intense heat breaks down the proteins in eggs in ways that can make them less digestible for some individuals. You might have experienced this firsthand if you've ever eaten a rubbery fried egg that sat on the skillet too long. The texture alone is a clue. That tight, bouncy chew suggests it has lost some of its easily digestible structure. Nutritionally, the real concern is oxidation and the formation of specific compounds that can be harmful in large quantities. When the yolk is heated relentlessly, like in extremely well-done scrambled eggs or repeatedly reheated breakfast sandwiches, the cholesterol inside the yolk can become oxidized. Oxidized cholesterol has been associated with heightened inflammation in the body, which is a risk factor for heart disease, especially in older adults already susceptible to arterial or circulatory issues. But oxidation isn't the only problem. Overcooked eggs can also lose significant amounts of valuable nutrients, such as vitamin B12, folate, and antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin, which promote eye health. The more you apply scorching temperatures, the more these delicate vitamins degrade, leaving you with a meal that is more filler than fuel. An easily recognizable sign of overcooking is the greenish or gray ring around a boiled egg yolk. While this color change itself doesn't mean the egg is inedible, it highlights how heat has transformed the egg's internal chemistry. The sulfur in the whites interacts with the iron in the yolk, forming iron sulfide. Prolonged or very high heat accelerates this reaction, indicating you're losing some beneficial qualities in the process. You might be wondering if this truly makes a difference. Consider an older adult named Samuel who always loved his eggs extra crispy. Without realizing it, he found himself feeling more sluggish after eating breakfast, often dealing with mild heartburn or a bloated sensation that lingered for hours. Once he discovered how high heat frying could compromise egg nutrients and irritate digestion, he softened his cooking style: lower flame, gentler stirring, shorter time in the pan, and noticed less discomfort almost immediately. So how do you avoid these issues? The answer is simpler than you might think. Use moderate heat. Whether you're frying, scrambling, or hard boiling, aim for just enough heat to cook the egg thoroughly without turning it rubbery or brown around the edges. A soft scramble, for instance, involves gently stirring eggs over low heat, leaving them tender, moist, and far more nutritious. Boiling eggs for slightly shorter durations, around 8 to 10 minutes rather than 12 to 15, helps retain nutrients and keep the yolk vibrant yellow. It's these minor adjustments that add up to a major difference in the long run. By taking control of your cooking methods, you'll preserve both the quality and the quantity of nutrients while steering clear of generating potentially harmful byproducts. Now that we've exposed the drawbacks of excessive heat, let's tackle the opposite end of the spectrum: the dangers lurking in raw or undercooked eggs. In contrast to overcooking, some people swear by eating eggs barely set or even entirely raw. The belief is that minimal heat ensures maximum nutrient retention. However, there's a critical flaw. Raw or undercooked eggs can harbor harmful bacteria like Salmonella, which poses a serious threat, particularly for older adults with diminished immune responses. If you've ever enjoyed homemade mayonnaise, raw cookie dough, or an ultra-soft boiled egg with a runny center, you might have rolled the dice on bacterial exposure. For many, that risk pans out fine because contamination isn't guaranteed. But when it does happen, the results can be severe. Salmonella infections often manifest with fever, abdominal cramping, and severe diarrhea, which can rapidly escalate into complications requiring hospitalization in seniors. Some people might argue that organic eggs from my trusted local farm are immune to these risks, while local organic or free-range eggs might have a lower likelihood of contamination. The potential for bacterial presence is never zero. Eggs are laid in a natural environment that can harbor countless microscopic organisms. Even the cleanest looking shell can have invisible cracks or pores through which bacteria can sneak. Take the story of Lauren, a woman in her late 60s who swore by a daily raw egg smoothie for its quick nutrient punch. For years, everything was fine, until one morning she felt an abrupt wave of nausea that led to days of persistent gastrointestinal distress. Lab tests later confirmed Salmonella as the culprit. From that point on, she switched to lightly scrambling her eggs or opting for safer pasteurized egg products in her smoothies, delivering similar nutrition without the microbial risk. Another underrated problem with raw eggs is the presence of avidin, a protein that binds to biotin, a B vitamin essential for energy metabolism, skin health, and nerve function. When eggs aren't heated, avidin remains active and prevents biotin from being fully absorbed in the intestines. Over time, this can lead to suboptimal biotin levels, especially if raw eggs are consumed frequently. The simplest solution is to ensure your eggs reach an internal temperature that kills harmful bacteria and deactivates avidin. Thoroughly cooked scrambled eggs, fried eggs with fully set yolks, or properly boiled eggs are all safe bets. If you do prefer a slightly runny yolk, using pasteurized eggs can lower the risk considerably. But for anyone more susceptible to illness, older adults, pregnant women, or those with chronic health conditions, taking that extra step to cook eggs completely is the wisest choice. We've seen the trouble that comes from extremes: cooking eggs too much or not cooking them enough. Now, let's explore how your storage habits can mean the difference between a nutritious meal and a bacterial playground. Picture this: you cook a dozen boiled eggs for the week, planning to have a quick protein fix whenever you need it. You leave them on the countertop to cool, get distracted, and come back hours later. Are they still good to eat? If you don't handle them correctly, you might be setting yourself up for unpleasant surprises. Proper storage matters because once eggs are cooked, they become more vulnerable to bacterial growth if left at room temperature. The general guideline for food safety is the 2-hour rule, but it's even more critical with delicate proteins like eggs. Bacteria thrive in the temperature range of about 40 degrees Fahrenheit 4 degrees Celsius to 140 degrees Fahrenheit 60 degrees Celsius. Leaving cooked eggs on the counter for a few hours allows them to linger in the danger zone, giving microbes a chance to multiply. Refrigeration slows bacterial growth drastically, but It's not enough to merely toss your eggs on the fridge shelf. For optimal safety, store them in airtight containers to prevent cross-contamination. That leftover chicken or fresh produce in the fridge could harbor pathogens that find their way onto your eggs if they're loosely wrapped. Let's consider Harold, who's 75 and lives alone. He liked to do meal prep by cooking a large batch of scrambled eggs early in the week, transferring them into a loosely covered container and eating portions each day. Initially, this seemed practical until he experienced repeated bouts of mild food poisoning symptoms. After he started dividing his eggs into smaller, airtight containers and labeling them with the cooking date, his stomach troubles vanished. Time also matters. Hard-boiled eggs stored in the fridge in their shells usually last about a week, but peeled eggs have a shorter window, around 3 to 5 days. Scrambled or fried eggs generally stay fresh for 3 to 4 days, but their texture and taste degrade rapidly, so it's wise to cook just enough for a couple of days at most. Another hidden hazard is reheating cooked eggs improperly. Microwaving eggs can result in tough or rubbery textures if done aggressively. Plus, any uneven heating could allow residual bacteria to survive in cooler spots. If you must use a microwave, heat in short intervals and stir or flip the eggs to distribute heat evenly. A stovetop reheat at low temperature with a small splash of water often yields a better result, preserving flavor and moisture. When you prioritize safe storage, you preserve not just the taste, but also the nutritional integrity of your eggs. The next factor that can sabotage even the most conscientious cook is using low quality or expired eggs. Let's dive into that crucial aspect next. No one wants to crack an egg into a bowl only to be met with a foul odor or suspicious discoloration. Yet it happens more often than you might think, and older adults are especially vulnerable if they consume tainted eggs. Identifying compromised eggs before they make it onto your plate is a pivotal skill. Labels on egg cartons often include a best by or sell by date. While these dates are helpful, they aren't foolproof indicators of an egg's actual freshness. Storage conditions from farm to supermarket to your home can vary wildly, speeding up or slowing down the spoilage process. A safer bet is to rely on a straightforward water test. Fill a bowl with cold water and gently place the egg in it. If the egg sinks and stays flat on the bottom, it's fresh. If it stands on one end, it's still edible, but nearing the end of its prime. If it floats, it has likely gone bad, and it's best to discard. Why does this work? Over time, eggs develop an air pocket between the shell and the inner membrane. As the egg ages, this pocket grows larger, giving the egg more buoyancy. It's also crucial to inspect the shell. Even a hairline crack can introduce bacteria, which thrive once inside the nutrient-rich environment. Cracked shells often go unnoticed if the crack is small, so take a quick look at every egg before cracking it open. If you see any breaks or suspicious spots, discard it immediately. The cost of one egg is negligible compared to the risks of food poisoning. Then, there's the sniff test. A fresh egg may have a neutral or mildly eggy smell, but nothing strongly pungent. If you detect any sulfur-like or rotten odor, either from the shell or once you crack it open, it's a surefire sign of spoilage. It's better to be safe than sorry. Toss it right away. You might be surprised to learn that even unwashed eggs, especially from local farms, can last quite a while if kept at stable refrigeration temperatures because they retain their bloom, a natural protective coating. But once eggs are washed or stored in fluctuating temperatures, like taking them in and out of the fridge repeatedly, they become susceptible to bacterial entry. Emily, a 67-year-old living in a rural area, prided herself on buying farm-fresh eggs every week. She would pick them up straight from her neighbor's chicken coop. But one batch turned out to have a hidden crack, leading to an unpleasant salmonella scare. Now, she inspects each egg carefully and performs the water test anytime she's uncertain, ensuring her beloved country eggs remain a source of vitality rather than a hazard. After all that, you might think you're doing everything right. Fresh eggs cooked to perfection, stored properly. But there's another subtle landmine: using the wrong cooking oil. Let's turn our attention there. You might not think twice about the oil or fat you use to cook your eggs. However, not all oils are created equal. Certain oils form harmful compounds, when heated, especially at the high temperatures often used for frying eggs. Highly processed vegetable oils such as soybean, corn, canola, and certain blends labeled as vegetable oil frequently contain trans fats and unstable polyunsaturated fatty acids. When heated, these fats can break down, creating substances that spur inflammation in the body. Over time, chronic inflammation can contribute to a host of issues, including heart disease, joint problems, and decreased cognitive function, concerns that become even more pressing as we age. A notable example is Harriet, 72, who always used margarine or vegetable oil for her morning omelet. She noticed that after eating, she sometimes felt a burning sensation in her chest, accompanied by lethargy that made her mornings feel slow and heavy. After learning how processed oils can contribute to inflammation and possible digestive upset, she switched to extra virgin olive oil at a moderate temperature and noticed an immediate improvement in how she felt. So, which fats are better choices? Generally, you want stable fats with higher smoke points or fats that are less prone to oxidation. Butter, ghee, clarified butter, olive oil, and avocado oil are commonly recommended. Coconut oil also remains stable under moderate heat. Butter or ghee, rich in flavor and stable enough for low to medium heat cooking. These options are traditional in many cuisines. Olive oil, extra virgin olive oil can handle moderate heat, but avoid cranking up the flame to maximum. For frying a refined or light, olive oil has a slightly higher smoke point. Avocado oil, known for an exceptionally high smoke point, making it ideal for frying or searing at higher temperatures. Coconut oil, stable due to its saturated fat profile, though it imparts a distinct coconut flavor. Choosing a healthier oil means you reduce the likelihood of generating free radicals, those troublesome molecules that can damage cells and accelerate aging. And for many people, the difference is notable in both taste and how they feel after meals. We've touched on how your cooking oil can tip the scales toward either better or worse health outcomes. Next, let's address a topic that has caused endless confusion: eggs, cholesterol, and what you really need to know to protect your heart. No discussion about egg-related health risks is complete without addressing cholesterol. For years, dietary cholesterol was villainized, with eggs bearing the brunt of the blame. However, modern research has clarified that for most people, dietary cholesterol in reasonable amounts doesn't drastically raise blood cholesterol levels the way saturated and trans fats do. So, why bring it up here? Because improper cooking methods or combining eggs with certain unhealthy foods can indeed worsen cholesterol-related issues, even if eggs themselves aren't the main culprit. For instance, an egg-laden breakfast might be relatively healthy until you add heaps of processed bacon, deep-fried hash browns, and lashings of margarine. The synergy of these elements can strain your cardiovascular system far more than the cholesterol content of the egg alone. Additionally, as touched on in previous sections, overcooking can oxidize the cholesterol in egg yolks, potentially leading to unfavorable effects. It's not that the cholesterol itself is the problem. It's the transformation that happens under intense heat. A critical nuance is individual variability. Some people are hyperresponders, whose blood cholesterol levels change more dramatically when they consume extra dietary cholesterol. Others see very little shift. But across the board, the negative impact is magnified if you're pairing eggs with trans fats, refined carbohydrates, and other inflammatory ingredients. To keep your heart in good condition, focus on how you prepare eggs and the quality of what you eat alongside them. Fresh vegetables, whole grains, and moderate amounts of healthy fats can complement your eggs and keep your overall meal balanced. Rather than fixating on the cholesterol number in a single egg, look at the big picture: your daily diet, cooking methods, and lifestyle. For a senior named Martin who had borderline high cholesterol, swapping out side dishes of greasy sausage and butter-laden toast for sautéed vegetables with a drizzle of olive oil made a sizable difference. He still enjoyed his egg breakfast, but now in a context that supported rather than undermined his cardiovascular goals. Now, let's see how adding the wrong extras to your egg-based meals can further undermine your nutrition. Eggs can be a blank canvas. Some people love piling on cheese, bacon, or sugary sauces to enhance flavor. Others whisk them into batters loaded with refined flour, sugar, and preservatives. While an occasional indulgence won't ruin your health, it's essential to see how certain combinations can negate the positive aspects of eggs. High sugar partners, ever swirl your scrambled eggs into a plate also holding syrup-drenched pancakes or sweet pastries? Flooding your meal with sugar spikes your blood glucose levels, leading to crashes and potential metabolic strain. This combination can mask the benefits you'd otherwise get from the egg's protein and healthy fats. Excessive processed meats. Bacon and sausage can be loaded with nitrates, sodium, and unhealthy fats. When combined with eggs cooked at high heat, you've got a double whammy of potential inflammatory triggers. If you love the savory taste, try nitrate-free turkey bacon or a small portion of high-quality sausage, and balance the meal with fresh veggies. Preservative-laden sauces. Ketchup, barbecue sauce, and certain hot sauces often include added sugars, artificial flavors, and high-fructose corn syrup. Even though you might only use a little, these extras can still push your meal into the less healthy zone. Look for sauces with minimal additives, or consider spicing your eggs with herbs like basil, oregano, rosemary, or a dash of pepper. Refined carbohydrates. Toasted white bread or bagels made from bleached flour might taste great with a sunny-side-up egg, but they offer minimal fiber or micronutrients. This can lead to a quick energy spike and crash. If you enjoy bread, whole grain or sprouted varieties are a more nourishing choice. Overuse of cheese. Cheese isn't inherently unhealthy. High-quality cheeses can add protein and calcium, but using large amounts of processed cheese in every egg meal loads you up with excessive saturated fats and sodium. Moderation is key. Opt for real cheddar, feta, or goat cheese, and keep the portion small to enhance flavor without overshadowing the egg's natural benefits. For instance, a busy mom named Kim loved her weekend brunch of scrambled eggs, triple cheese, and a side of bacon drenched in barbecue sauce. It was her treat for surviving a hectic week. However, her doctor warned her about rising blood pressure and cholesterol levels. By dialing back the extras, using a modest amount of real cheese, skipping the sugary sauce, and adding sliced tomatoes, her brunch remained satisfying without sacrificing her health. Eggs are versatile, but it's the extras on the plate that often turn them into a dietary disaster. By combining eggs with vegetables, herbs, moderate cheese, or whole grains, you boost the total nutritional value of your meal. Now, let's bring all these threads together in a concluding section that helps you form a lasting strategy. Eggs have been called nature's multivitamin, and for good reason. They're affordable, easy to cook, and dense with nutrients that benefit muscles, eyesight, and overall vitality. Yet they can also be a vehicle for mistakes that sabotage your health, particularly if you're older or have a more delicate constitution. We've covered several pitfalls to avoid. Overcooking. Excessive heat breaks down nutrients and encourages the formation of unwanted oxidized compounds. Raw or undercooked eggs. The risks of bacterial contamination, especially for older adults or those with weakened immunity. Improper storage. Leaving cooked eggs at room temperature for too long or storing them without airtight protection can turn them into a breeding ground for bacteria. Using low quality or expired eggs. Small cracks and past prime eggs carry hidden dangers, so test freshness and discard anything questionable. Unhealthy cooking oils. The wrong oils can release trans fats and free radicals, fueling inflammation rather than providing nourishment. Misunderstanding cholesterol. Dietary cholesterol is only part of the story. Overcooking or pairing eggs with unhealthy sides can amplify any potential cholesterol issues. Pairing with poor food choices. Sugary sauces, processed meats, and refined carbs can overshadow the egg's healthy profile. The good news is that avoiding these errors doesn't mean you must give up eggs. A few mindful tweaks, like cooking at moderate heat, storing them correctly, and selecting fresher, better quality eggs can make all the difference. Experiment with tasty combinations like sautéed vegetables, whole grain breads, or a sprinkle of natural seasoning to showcase eggs' flavor without compromising on health. Think of these adjustments not as restrictions, but as upgrades that preserve the core reasons you love eggs in the first place. As you continue to refine your approach, your body will likely reward you with better digestion, more sustained energy, and a lowered risk of the inflammatory conditions that can arise from repeatedly mishandling this nutritious food. Now that you're armed with this information, I'd love to hear from you. What's one change you plan to make in how you store, cook, or combine your eggs? Drop a comment below and share your experience. By swapping tips and stories, we can keep everyone informed and empowered. And if you found this script enlightening, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss future videos dedicated to bringing you clear, actionable guidance for living a healthier life. Eggs don't have to be a hidden danger. When prepared thoughtfully, they can remain one of the most nourishing foods on your plate at any age.